Welcome into the Radical Roots podcast and its offshoot, the Roots Rundown. Today is June 12th, 2026. I'm your host for today's episode, Peyron Baxter. Before we get into it, I just gotta let you guys know I had a complete technical meltdown this morning. Nothing was working. It wasn't the social media to get clips. It wasn't the computer system to get things uploaded. Honestly, it was the pen that wasn't even writing. So, but today is Friday. Welcome in. And but we're gonna make the best of it as we can because that's what we do here on the Radical Roots. It is authentic. It is real. It is us. It is me. It is you. It is how we come together in this global classroom, as we call it. Welcome in, everyone. If you're listening live or if you're listening to it later at another time, welcome in. We appreciate you. All right. Today is today's Friday, which is we're doing the 7 days of Kwanzaa principles. Would be Umoja, which means the unity of each other, of ourselves, and of the race and the nation, and how we come together for collective action. So our Kwanzaa principles is 7 days. Today would be Umoja, Umjoma, Umoja. And as we like to do before we get started, with a part of our rituals or habits, whatever you want to call it, is that we're going to have a moment of gratitude. And before we do that, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Radical Roots podcast and platform. Share it on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, wherever you are watching us, YouTube. We don't care. Just share us. That means the world to us. It allows us to maintain our platform, allows us to stay relevant, allows us to stay in places that sometimes we can't reach because you may have that reach. So helping us out goes a long way. And then if they do come on, they'll see these moments where we not just talk about politics, but we think about the holistic approach to how we're trying to heal these moments, right? So for us currently, it is healing not just politically or culturally, but also the mind, the body, the spirit. So what we like to do here, as we take our Kwanzaa principle of Umoja, togetherness and unity, I want us to bring ourselves together, come back to those places, because sometimes I get DMs all the time from people, especially after yesterday's episode. I don't know. After yesterday's episode, so many people let me know how emotional that was. Folks that listened afterwards, folks that listened to it on Twitch, folks listened to it on Facebook, folks listened to it on YouTube. I didn't realize that, when I was putting that episode together, it was going to be so impactful, that it was going to be so emotional. But as they come in, they realize that it's not just me educating you, that it's all of us pulling and pushing these topics and ideas so we can be the best versions of ourselves to be able to fight white narcissism, which is actively killing all of us right now. So I'm very thankful for the feedback from yesterday's episode. So if you guys missed it, it's called Homicide Justified. It was a really good episode. But today's episode, it's our Friday ritual. We're getting into our Friday parking lot. So basically, topics that I missed throughout the week or even last week. They're just on a list of things that have not been touched. We're going to talk about those things today. But before we do that, our moment of gratitude, I just said a minute ago or so. This is as we have these heavy topics and these heavy discussions, and people are saying they're feeling heavy again after yesterday's episode, or just in life, right? Just watching the news or watching their kids grow up, where there's natural stress and there's unnatural stress. All of these things, I think it's good for us to kind of reset before we get into a deeper conversation. And today's more fun, but still, I want us all to take a deep breath. So whatever is ailing you, whatever is on your heart, your mind, your spirit, please just reconnect with who you were before people put these titles on you, before people put you into a box, but before people had expectations of you, who you are to yourself. I hope that you're kind to yourself. I hope you're kind to people that are more vulnerable to you. I hope that you're kind to people in general, because that's the only way that we're going to find our salvation out of this. That's the only way that we're going to find ourselves to be able to fight back against any of this stuff. So if you before we get into the show, I just want to take 10 seconds. I'm going to do a countdown. I want to take the biggest, deepest lung capacity breath, the juiciest breath that we could possibly take for 10 seconds. So I'm going to do a countdown. 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1. It doesn't matter. I guess a countdown. 3, 2, 1. And then we'll take 10-second breath. Okay, here we go. So 3, 2, 1. Then one more. All right. So today's parking lot. We're still letting folks kind of pile in. So before we get into today's episode, um, again, something I didn't touch on yesterday that I think is important for me to bring up. It's not something I'm very proud of. I mean, it's proud, but it's like it's not one of those things where we're like, I'm better than anybody. No. But yesterday, or dare I say, June 11th, 2018, was the last day that I drank alcohol. I am a alcoholic. I've talked about this on the show. And I say that present tense, even though I haven't had a drink since June 11th, 2018, which was yesterday, which makes yesterday my 8-year sober versary from alcohol. And I tell this to people because not that I'm trying to, oh, look at me, I was able to, stop drinking, because most time when you go from one addiction, you go to another addiction. And that's still very true for me. I still have a very addictive tendencies that I'm trying to combat. Um, but I know one of those addictions, if it's so harmful that it's killing you, that you're coughing up blood, that you're unable to go to work, and it harms you, and it harms the way that you interact with your loved ones and your family, and your children, and your wife, and your friends, and your mother, that addiction absolutely must stop. And I don't know if I've ever told a story on this show, but when on June 11th, 2018, I was working at this company in Uptown Charlotte, kind of a Wolf of Wall Street sort of a environment, very like conservative, but yet still like money, 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 and we're just gonna do all this money stuff. And I was trying to be of that world at the time. I was headed out. That's actually my last day at that company was actually in July. So when I came to my senses and ended my drinking, I ended up quitting that company. And I've been an alcoholic before I even joined the organization. I had a DUI before I had joined that organization. I had harmed relationships. I'd had every single addictive. Actually, could you guys, if you guys, I want to say it again, if you guys could, donate. That means a lot. I'm sorry, I forgot to take that off. But I had every addictive tendency. Um, I was harmful to many a woman that I had dated at the time, or not at the time, but prior to. I was very harmful to my wife at the time, right, my same wife, but who I was to her at the time as well. Um, and I had found myself at a place where I couldn't find a reason for trying to get better. And you know how sometimes some people say like, you know, stuff that wasn't meant for you sometimes might be meant for you, right? And not meaning like a person or like an opportunity, but just the words you hear, right? So I was in my office, I had an office with a guy who was about 20 years my senior, maybe about 20 years my senior, white guy named Tim Wood, love this guy. And we were sharing an office, and a girl comes to our office, and she is like completely hungover. And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so depressed." And Tim looks over at her and he says, there's a correlation, there's a scientific correlation to having consistent hangovers with being depressed. And mind you, he wasn't talking to me. Tim has seen me multiple times though, coming to work hungover or, just kind of lackadaisical, whatever the case may be. But I was also suffering through depression at the time. I was also suffering through a deep depression. And I don't know what it was, just him telling her that when you have consistent hangovers, you are actively engaging in an act that leads to depression. I don't know why that hit my heart so hard. And I was like, oh, that's probably why I'm depressed. I know that sounds silly. I know that sounds like, oh my God, you didn't go to AA, you didn't go through, a clinical help, or you didn't have a doctor assess you. I just heard that sentence. And that was enough for me. I know that sounds crazy. I've had people tell me you got to stop drinking. I've had girlfriends tell me you got to stop this. I used to hide bottles when I promised I'd stop drinking. They would find the bottles and throw the bottles. Where these bottles inside of my suit jackets? I had little pints. All this was happening, and none of that stopped. But me hearing Tim tell Ashley that drinking and having consistent hangovers equates or can lead to having depression, it just snapped something in me. And in that moment, I stopped drinking. And I wasn't drinking at the time. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, probably around this time in the morning. And that was my last day. And a year later, June 11th, 2019, I reached out to Tim and let him know that he saved my life that day. I let him know that he saved my life by just talking to someone else. And ironically, Tim had a very similar story about someone else that he had saved. They're in a more traumatic situation where like they had gotten into a car accident, they were drinking. And he's like, it's crazy, Payron, that you're not the second person that's reaching out to me on your soberversary, because another guy did the same thing. But again, he got into a car accident. He had gone to the hospital. And so that was the last day I stopped drinking. That was the last day. And for me, that was enough. But I'd seen the bottom of it. I'd seen the bottom of when you don't care for yourself. And I'm telling you this story to let you know that I am no better than anyone else. I'm letting you know that a lot of people put on masks and face to believe themselves to be better than, or believe themselves, well, I have this and I have that. I have this degree and this accreditation. I have this, that, and the third. But in reality, like, we all scrape the bottom of the barrel. And when I was at that point, I'm talking about, I was drinking and trying to hide things from people all the time. I was trying to perform for them. I was trying to let them know I'm still the fun guy that they remember from college. And it was hard. I mean, I got to the point where I was drinking Listerine, because that had, or not Listerine, but mouthwash, because that has alcohol in it. NyQuil, these things. And this is why, if you guys may hear, sometimes I may slur my words. I think that is a downstream effect of my alcoholism. But that day changed my life. So when I had this outlook to then start doing the deconstruction, what also happened, not because of me, I realized that it was something bigger than me, right? And when you've seen the bottom, when you've seen like your life was about to end, I was ready to I didn't care if I died. When you're driving with bottles in the car, you're coming home from work drinking fifths of vodka, you don't care if you live or die at that point. So when I look at the political moment that we're in, and when I look at these white narcissists, Trump, Pete Hegseth, Stephen Miller, your fucking dad, your neighbors, whatever, the mayor of Monroe, North Carolina, Robert Burns, they can't hurt me. I've seen the bottom. I've seen life can be forfeited to me. I've seen that I didn't care. When you come back from that, you're untouchable. You walk with a certain vigor to you. Your back is straight. You're able to say, you can't touch me. And then you start living in truth. You start to reject the need for lies. Because I was lying to myself. I was the biggest liar. I was lying to myself. So when we have this moment of gratitude, I'm grateful to be able to celebrate my soberversary. 8 years yesterday. But I still call myself an alcoholic because I keep it present mind and present tense. Because you know what? Tomorrow, and I said this, I've helped people with this over the years who are asking me, how'd you go cold turkey? I said, look, man, tomorrow I could find out that the world's about to explode. And guess what? I'm going to pop a bottle and I'm going to drink like a fish. But that's tomorrow. Tomorrow is unwritten, right? Today, I can control myself today. And today I shall not drink. Today I shall be better than I was yesterday. Today I shall take control of my life. Today I will do no harm today. And that is what is able to, I think, propel me into this version of myself, which does not jive with a lot of current society. I've gotten to a lot of these debates and conversations, but I wanted to tell you all, when you feel like that you have to deal with something or you feel like it is insurmountable, it is not. We as people are a resilient creature. It doesn't mean I don't have bad days. It doesn't mean I don't get down, especially with all the shit I talk about here, especially all the yesterday's episode. Again, if you guys missed yesterday's episode, turn this episode off and go watch yesterday's episode. All the love and stuff I've gotten all night, right after the show to, even this morning, someone's a guy who I've done PSL Charlotte work with, he watched it this morning. He was like, that shit was dope, man. We can do this. And I'm telling you this because I'm a person like you. I am not this rarefied air. I'm not someone who comes from an upper crust, or even if none of that shit matters. What matters is that I matter. What matters is that you matter. What matters is that we matter. And as long as we keep talking about that in a way that centers our humanity, not our things, not our collections, not our materialism, not our statuses, but just you deserve respect. You deserve to be treated and thought of in a positive way because you are a human being. And that is why we started the Radical Roots. Because so much propaganda is out there to convince us that certain people are not people. And once you start to accept that, you start to kill your own humanity. Because you've now accepted that humanity can be forfeit. But when your own life was almost extinguished, you realize how important it is to change those things. So, not trying to get into all that, not trying to make it all feel sad and stuff, or again, this is a moment of triumph, and again, it could change. It could change, any day. Now, I will say this: I did accidentally drink alcohol. Be very honest. We were in Jamaica last year, and I asked for a virgin, what's that, pina colada. And I don't know if you just heard pina colada. And I took a small sip. I was like, is there alcohol in here? And he was like, yeah, man. Of course, because we're in Jamaica. Yeah, man. Yeah, I already drink, man. No. And I was like, okay. I asked for no alcohol. So that was the one time I did drink alcohol. Now, it was accidental, but I did not finish the drink. I did hand it back over to them. And then he gave me a virgin pina colada. So sorry for that long wind up, but I did at least touch on that. But yesterday we talked about the connection between Carmelo Anthony's case and the verdict, as well as Cyrus Carmack Belton's murder, and how the conditions of this country have always meant for those outcomes to be those outcomes. But I got a couple things I wanted to show before we get into the parking lot. Maybe the parking lot will just be the back half of the show. But my Instagram was tripping. I could not locate half these damn videos, or at least pull them up. But I'm going to post this one to my page too. But I saw this video. I saw this of the father of Austin Metcalf, the murdered child who Carmelo Anthony killed. after he was being ganged up on. And people were like, "You got to show remorse from the family. You got to show remorse for the, you don't know, someone's life was lost. Someone's life was lost. Someone's life was lost. You got to care about everybody. Murder is murder." Again, we went through how you could be a Kyle Rittenhouse and get off. We went through how you could be a Daniel Penny and get off. So here is the father of Austin Metcalf, and there's a few of these videos, so stick with us. But this shit is fucking crazy. This is why, like, it's really hard for people to tell me that we need to have so much compassion, because there is a compassion limit. There's a compassion quota, if you will. But here's the father.
I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to
You
portray.
guys
How
hear
about
this?
watermelon felon? How's that one strike you? Make something racist up so y'all can go viral. I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to portray. How about watermelon felon? How's that one strike you?
So this is his
Make
father
something racist up so y'all
saying,
can go viral.
this is Austin Metcalf's dad saying, "I have a name for Carmelo Anthony. Why don't we call him Watermelon Felon?" Mm-hmm. Okay. And here's another video.
Is lifted.
Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Tiffany Billions, Wackadoo, McAdoo, whatever her last name is. I'm not going to throw insults at you because I'm not going to lower myself to your level. But you're despicable. Drew Anthony, Kayla, you're cowards. You wouldn't even show up for your son's sentencing or victim statement impact. You abandoned your kid. You left him there. I guess he's no more use to you because you can't get any more GoFundMe money or Go Send Go money. You are grifters. You should be ashamed of yourself. You raised that child. And I swear to God, CPS should come check on those other 3 that you still have. You never once admitted or took accountability. You now, because the gag order is lifted. Tiffany Billions, you tried to play victim.
All right, I'm not going to go through all these, but there is a
Secret Service Sam here with some hardcore receipts on the Austin Metcalf Carmelo Anthony trial aftermath. Jeff Metcalf got on TikTok Live and showed you his completely racist side. For him to sit there and say this wasn't about race, and this video I'm about to show you gives you into how these friends were raised and how we ended up here and how they were most likely talking to Carmelo. Look at what Jeff Metcalf had to say about slavery.
Even though they did wrong, you're going to support someone who does something against the law. You're encouraging and saying it's okay because he's a certain color. Oh, you've got more melanin than me. Ooh, so you get more privileges, more entitlement? Because 400 years ago, someone actually sold you to us, and we took you over here and put you to work. And then we had a civil war to free your ass. And now you want to talk shit? Oh, I've been so oppressed. You couldn't even vote 1960.
Secret Service Sam here with some hardcore receipts on the Austin Metcalf Carmelo Anthony trial aftermath.
I'm going to stop right now, but I'm going to post these on my social media and maybe even the Radical Roots platform as well. But so when people want to say that, it's so interesting that he started the conversation with 400 years ago you were enslaved. No, we were not enslaved 400 years. We were enslaved through chattel slavery about 160 years ago. I'm not good at math, but it wasn't no 400 years ago. Now, we were enslaved longer than we've not been enslaved. This country has had chattel slavery longer than it has not had chattel slavery. What do you think that does to the way the society has propped up its institutions, its resources, allocation, how it conducts itself? What do we think that means? What do we think that means? And this is serious because, like, this is, it's funny. He's saying that, the parent, Carmelo Anthony's parents raised him this way. You raised your child to be a racist. You raised your child to be the same people that would have, and when I was telling that story yesterday about Ethan, my son, about explaining to him basically why this is in the textbooks, which made me think about the episode, to do yesterday's episode. But I explained to him how in Charlotte, North Carolina, there's that famous picture of the let me see if I can find it. The integrating young girl, and I'm so sorry, I forget her name. Integration Charlotte. Let's see. There's a famous picture of what's her name? Yes, here we go. Her name was what's a video? What's her name? Chester County student. Oh, I'm sorry. But I explained over the overall story to him. Where's that picture? Okay, here we go. Dorothy Counts. Her name is Dorothy Counts. And she integrated Harding High School in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1957. If you guys don't know what she looks like this. This picture. And I had to, let me scroll down here. Here we go. This picture here. And this is just out top of the dome. And I remember her talking about this like a couple of years ago. She's still alive. And I was explaining to Ethan how like the texture of clothing was at this time. So it's like it's very wool laden, very thick fabric. And I said, Ethan, if you could imagine, I picked up something very similar to wool. She said that by the time she got into school this day, the amount she said her clothes were so heavy they were dripping with other people's spit. Think about how much spit it would take to soak into wool garments to make them heavy to the point that they drip. And that racist ass fucking dad wants us to give a fuck that his racist son is dead. Dorothy Counts here is the same sort of surrounding fear. And I played the video yesterday of Domo Draper, who talked about when we are surrounded by whiteness, we have known it usually ends with us being harmed, maimed, raped, lynched, murdered, shot. The amount of, and I said, Ethan, how many mouths do you think it would take to make that much spit to make her dress so filled with spit that it is dripping onto the floor when she goes into the school? It was heavy with spit. So when that piece of shit ass dad acts like his son is innocent, because I'm sure all the parents of these kids behind Dorothy Counts said that their children were just innocent if she would have hauled off and punched one of them. And at a certain point, we do have a capacity as Black people. But I'm going to try to post the video of all his shit later on today. It wasn't working for some reason. But people want us to excuse their racism, excuse their vile way that they've been raising their children. And we will not. We will not. Yeah, like I don't know. Just seeing that, I was like, dude, we're not going to give a fuck. Because as I said yesterday with the casual slave killing laws, that even if a Black person attempted to resist your rape, your dismemberment, your putting us in chains, just abuse, hitting us in the head with a crowbar, shooting us, if we even attempted to resist, I still got it up here from yesterday. They were completely acquitted of all criminal charges. If they killed us, and the incident was legally treated as if it never happened. That's not going to keep working. It's not going to keep working, and they're trying to push us back to that. All right, so we're halfway through the show, and I just want to at least touch on that. The Soberversary and seeing Austin Metcalf's racist ass fucking daddy, as if I give a fuck that he raised a racist son who then chose to be a fucking racist and got the outcome that every racist should get. He got the outcome every racist should get. If the racist after the Civil War were treated the way they should have been treated, the way Austin Metcalf was treated, not embraced in being able to take positions back in the Congress and the Senate and become governors and state legislators and head of corporations and judges and lawyers and doctors. If they were all put out the fucking pasture because they're one traitors, if y'all care so much about this idea of the Constitution and how much this country means, you all actively embraced these people. And then after the 1877 Hayes-Tilden Compromise to allow Rutherford B. Hayes to become the president, the deal was we will take out the National Guard out of the South that was forcing former enslavers not to be discriminatory and harmful to their most recently enslaved. The deal was if we pull out our National Guard, you can have it all back as long as you rejoin the Union. It wasn't really a civil war. It was more of a civil spat, a disagreement, a moment for us to kind of clear the air. Sadly, over 600,000 people died. But again, most of those people wanted us to remain property. So I don't give a fuck that a single Confederate died. They all should have died. All of them post that. But when you have a Daughters of the Confederacy that maintains the lie of the War of Northern Aggression, that maintains the lies of whiteness, of white innocence, of black criminality and black pathology, you will end up with an Austin Metcalf who was born in the 2010s or some shit, or in the early 2000s. What I'm again not good at math. And for him to feel like, yeah, we'll surround this black boy who we've already been bullying. There's already been a record. We've been bullying him. And he's at a place that he shouldn't have to leave. And I got my just due. Leave black people the fuck alone. And this is not going to deter us as black people. All right. I just want to just touch on that because seeing him just pop off watermelon felt like they can't wait to call us niggers. I keep saying that to y'all. And I know it may sound crazy or what. They can't wait. He has a dead son and he's out here fucking jerking off to how racist he can be. He feels like his dead son, who he helped make dead because he helped raise him to be a unkind person. And black people do not have to suffer any of your child shit. And if anytime we do feel surrounded, we will react, and we should react. But he's using this opportunity not to grieve, not to uplift the good things his son did, to look at this through a different lens, to bring unity. No, he's calling him a watermelon felon. And you want us to sit here and give a fuck that his son is dead? No. That's how this whole situation maintains itself. That's how this country maintains itself, off that level of like, we don't gonna come. No, the fuck we don't. And we're not. Hence why black people have pulled back. All right. Okay. Halfway through. So again, today is Friday Parking Lot. Sorry that went a little long there with the preamble. So as we tend to do on the show on Fridays, we are going to do our parking lot. I think last Friday we didn't do it. We had Bull City Anna on, which was a great interview. If you guys missed that as well. Bull City Anna did a fantastic job coming on the show, and we need to have her back on as soon as possible as well. So we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a good amount of clips. We have from 1 through, we have 12 clips, and we're not going to get to all 12. But it's just a running list of shit that I haven't gotten to. So, folks in the chat, or if you guys have a topic, but I have already got these videos loaded up, so we'll start with these today. Give me a number, guys. Give me a number. I see Lorena is jumping in the chat, monopolizing the chat. Give me a number. Give me a number, and that will be the next story item. 3. Here we go. Number 3 is 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is a good one. Here we go. This is, I think, from Wednesday. Donald Trump has not been one to You know, he's a very upstanding gentleman. And as we talk about the innocence of whiteness and the innocence of white men and white people, and you know, they're always above board. And you know, you got MAGA Mike Johnson, MAGA Mike Grinder Johnson, who's sitting there saying that the morality of the country is under attack, and all these as they grab their cravat. Is that what's called, a cravat? What's it called? A thingy, a jigger. The thing that Fred from Scooby Doo wore. What's that called? A cravat? Well, something. As they grab their pearls, Donald Trump has a take on Graham Plattner, who most recently won the main Democratic primary, even though the Democratic establishment did everything in their power to get him to lose. They tried to get the 80-year-old governor to run, who basically dropped out months ago, who was never given a real shot. She was doing this because Chuck Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand wanted that. And this is why we're seeing the hit piece on Graham Plattner as well. But Trump took to his resolute desk yesterday to make a statement on Graham Plattner. Let's listen to this, because I think there's some hypocrisy abound. Let's see here. Here we go.
I watched Thug that's up in Maine. He's a thug. And they're trying to make excuses for him. I mean, he's worse than any human being that's ever run for office, probably. I don't know him. I don't want to say bad, but I just, look, I mean, nobody's ever had a record like that. And you'll have Schumer. He goes crazy over this or that, or Epstein. This guy. Why are they talking about him? He said, well, we don't know, but this guy's got a rap sheet. I've never seen anything like it. He's a thug. I know thugs. I had to deal with thugs. I built a lot of buildings. I dealt with the toughest people on earth. I dealt with worse than thugs. This guy's a thug. He's a low-level thug. And he's running to be a senator, to work with Eric Schmidt. Great, Eric will handle him. I think to be with Barrasso, who the hell do we have to be with Rand? Now, Rand would be very interesting with him. Rand would figure it out, it'll put him away. But this is a thug. He's a cheap, no good person. And I watch these senators, the Democrats, and, well, we don't really know. You do know. He's as bad. I've never seen a person like that run for office.
There is another, I guess there's another clip that extends that about 10 more seconds. And he says, when Graham Plattner comes from money, his parents helped him out so much, blah, blah, blah. Now, the projection is loud within this one, as Yoda would say. You know, there's no one worse than him this ran for office. Bitch, you. Right? Look, quite literally, you're a scumbag. Quite literally, before you ever ran for office, you were known to say that you would grab them by the pussy, that you can walk into the Miss Teen, meaning children, USA pageant dressing room, and just basically look at whoever and do whatever, and I'm sure touch whatever and grab whatever. This is someone who said that his infant daughter, Tiffany, he hopes that she's going to have big titties like her mother, Marla Maples. The legs are okay, but hopefully she'll have the big tits. This man was known not to pay his undocumented workers. In fact, there was Polish workers that I believe were building the Taj Mahal that he's tried to stiff, and it wasn't until the foreman of them was like, "We're gonna kill one of these people in this building if we don't get paid," and then he had to settle with them. This man's been a racist. Man took a full-page ad out to kill 5 black and brown boys when they didn't do anything, and then still to this day, June 12th, 2026, has not apologized to them. This motherfucker has all the audacity. He says Schumer supports him. Chuck Schumer quite literally does not support Graham Plattner. He tried to get the governor of Maine to run against Graham Plattner. Chuck Schumer, and the reason Democrats do not like him is not because, he has indiscretions, or he has a past, or he has a tattoo. In fact, Democrats don't give a fuck about none of that shit. It's because of his policy prescriptions. They're anti-capitalist. They're anti-genocide. They call out the genocide. He wants to hold those who have committed crimes against the United States of America to account. He wants to stop the endless wars. He wants to stop people like Susan Collins, who sent him into war. Susan Collins, if you guys remember, said that she would only serve 2 terms 30-something years ago. She said 12 years is enough 30 years ago. The whole fucking party is liars. Liars. And Trump sitting there acting like, and then he said, this guy's got a rap sheet. And also, Trump is he's lost his fastball. He has no more, he called Jeb Bush low energy Jeb. This is low energy Trump. Oh, yeah. This guy, rap sheet. Motherfucker, you got 34 felonies. Convicted. 34 felonies. And white America said, yep, that's our guy. That's our guy. Credible rape allegations, been found liable for rape against E. Jean Carroll. And now your Department of Justice, ran by a bunch of subway chasing, Better Call Saul ass attorneys, are trying to attack her. Donald Trump is a pedophile. He wants to fuck kids. What did I say a couple of days ago? Folks, we're not outnumbered, we're out organized, but we're out organized by pedophiles. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And then, and I see Lorena's comments here, and this is a good conversation to have as we're trying to unpack this stuff. Because again, these people that are running for office, she says, is there one man that could run for office that is not abusive to women in his past? I would say no. I would say no. Lorena, you hold me in very high regard. I was very abusive to women. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally, manipulative. I mean, if I ran for office, I'm sure you would support me, Lorena. The thing is when you are held to account for those things, are you choosing to be better? Because the idea that we need to have a perfectly polished person that has never done anything that can run for office, while the other side actively puts pedophiles into the most powerful office in the country, we are not having an honest conversation. We have all been indoctrinated into patriarchy. But it's what we do with that once we learn that, once we articulate that with our mouth, that I am a patriarch, I'm a misogynist, then it's your responsibility to unpack that shit and make sure every day since then you do something to change that, to make the world better, even if that means just making yourself better. But anytime that comes up, you're knocking it down. Here you go. I understand and I forgive you but you're also not going to run for office, and that would be a hard one. But I'd vote for you. Okay. But again, then like, what are you looking for? Because ironically, the people with pristine backgrounds and all that good stuff, they're not going to vote for you to have the things that we need. They're not going to vote against the things. The thing is, I love a person that is broken, right? Because one, we saying that the Democratic Party can't reach out to men that seem disaffected. Graham Plattner can. Graham Plattner can. Now, if he's actively doing that shit now, or if he's like defending the pedophile and I don't want to release the Epstein, we have to understand which direction is this person going in, and who are we to say that person cannot be redeemed? Who are we? Especially if they're making active steps. I just gave you guys a story prior to the show beginning of my who I was prior to now, of my drinking. Now you would say, well, we can't have that person be an office because he's been alcoholic. I think you should want someone, because I would vote for policies that would get people treatment, that would change the way that we regulate alcohol, the way that we look at addiction, right? Those things can be positive if someone's doing the right thing, and their rhetoric and their policy prescriptions would be a broader way to help people. So I don't know. And again, we're saying violence. What? Okay. The one case that was corroborated, quote unquote, that they say has the most legs, there's no one to corroborate it. It's her saying, well, he grabbed me, but it wasn't that. Okay. This is not me excusing it. But we had Tony Gonzalez that was cheating on his wife with someone that set herself on fire and killed herself. Every time we see people that are, shooting their whole families or are, raping children, they're usually conservative white men, and they're getting off, or they're getting slaps on the wrist, or they're like the guy in Texas who was a child pedophile, Ken Paxton, who's running against James Tallarico. Let him go. This is the dialectical materialism that we have to use when we're viewing these things. Because then again, if it's we need perfect people and only the perfect people will make it, but then you'll get someone like a Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't have a bad background beyond his plagiarism and beyond his support for racist views. Sure, that doesn't matter to you. But what is he going to push for? He's not going to push for our voting rights to be ensconced in law. He's not going to he's not going to fight hard to make sure that women have a right to bodily autonomy. These are good questions to have, because sometimes we can sit on our perch and be like, that person's bad. But like, in reality, what is the contrast? And who are the people inside those areas that'd be willing to push back against that? And if Maine feels like that's their guy, it's a state that's 2% black. So, this is a white people thing. If they feel like that's their guy and he's kind of atoning for it, like, who are we to be like, no. And I'm telling you, you're gonna. That is, I think, why Democrats lose, is this idea that like we must demand purity, and the pure people will end up being Eric Swalwell. Gabby, lived experiences shape us to be who we are. I agree. The growth and self-accountability you have is the exact kind of thing we need in a leader. Exactly. And I'm not saying I'm a leader, but like, if we're doing this whole thing, like, you must show up with your past already. What do we do? So that means you have to be thinking from the time you're 7 years old that I want to be a president, I want to be a senator. I think it's cool that you could be a oyster fisherman and rise to the Senate. I think that's pretty dope. Donald Trump didn't have any political experience, and he became the president of the United States twice. We're not being serious when we say these things. Now, do we want people to have this background? Absolutely not. No, I don't. I would prefer him not to have a Nazi tattoo. I prefer him not to be sexting. But goddamn, has a motherfucker sexted in his life? Yeah. Has a motherfucker used manipulative tactics to get women back in the day? Absolutely. But what am I doing with that information now? And what type of example am I putting forward to teach my children, to teach other children, to teach other men that we can't keep doing this? Not having a group chat and things. I know guys that have a group chat. I'm not in this group chat, but I saw it's called locker room talk. This is when Trump was first in office. Remember when he said that, it's just grabbed by the pussy, was just locker room talk. People saw themselves in that and then created a group chat and titled it locker room talk. I know these people. So there's a certain level of like, well, which type? Now, these men, they don't have any background. These are lawyers. These are executives. You would think these are men that believe you can grab them by the pussy. They don't have a DUI like I got. They don't say shit about what's happening in this country. They don't say shit about your rights being taken away. They don't give a fuck. But guess what? They have a pristine background. This is what I'm talking about. And I appreciate Gabby's comment here, because that's my whole point that I'm making here. Like, what are we asking for here? All right. But Trump, he's sitting there saying that Trump is a rapist, a pedophile, a racist, saying this guy got a rap sheet. What has he been arrested for? Trump, you have multiple mugshots for trying to overturn the election in Georgia, looking for 11,780 votes. Remember that shit? And we're sitting here saying, but hold on, Grand Platform was sexting. The morality ceiling went out. That's out the window. And we got to let that shit go. In fact, this country should have never had that shit. This country built on genocide and enslavement and Jim Crow apartheid for 100. Come on. Who was the good president? For who? For whom? Every president is a war criminal. Every single one of them. There hasn't been. If Kamala Harris would have won, she too would be a war criminal. This is the delusion that we must wake ourselves up from. And we have to be thinking, what future do we want to build? One where men who do commit crimes against women or who transgress against people who are more vulnerable, sure, they should be punished. There should be a social response to them. But should that last forever? That Austin Metcalf's father there in the video, 400 years ago, or your people sold us to us, so therefore, that logic doesn't make any fucking sense. If I sold you my son today for $1, would you buy him? No. The logic, it doesn't make sense. People knew back then slavery was wrong. And now we have people saying like, well, we have to be good. No, this country has never been good. People should have been knocked in the fucking head a long time ago. As Lincoln said, never trust a man with no vices. Lincoln also said, if I could win the war without freeing any black people or any slaves, I would do that. If I could win the war with freeing all the slaves, I'd do that. If I could win the war with just freeing some of them, I'd do that. He didn't give a shit. And in fact, he said, if we free you, y'all boys y'all folks got to go back to Africa. He committed the largest mass lynching in American history. 38 Lakota. This is who we're trying to, right? Who is the good guy? There is no good guy. As Dr. John Henry Clark, the Pan-Africanist, once said, in some stories, there is no good guy. There's just bad guys and worse guys. That's what this country's been. There's bad guys and there's worse guys. And we as black people have always known that. Because we realized if we ran away off the plantation, they might harm my wife. Even though I'm going to come back for it, they're going to harm her. They might sell her somewhere. They might rape her. They might kill her if I ran away. That's a political decision you're making as an enslaved person without knowing who the president is, who the Republicans, who's the Democrats, who's the Federalists, who's the Whig Party. You don't know. All you know is these white people won't let you get off this house, off this property. And if you did, something bad's going to happen to your children. Reading the book, Burn Down Master's House. Oh my God. Y'all must read that book. It is, ugh. We knew when dealing with Frederick Douglass dealing with Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln saying, all right, either you're going to vote, y'all going to tell people to vote for us, where I get this kind of quasi freedom for y'all, or you're going to get McClellan and he's going to send all y'all into chains in perpetuity. When dealing with LBJ, we knew this is a Southern gentleman from Texas who said that he threw around the N-word, like he threw around the word the. We're always making political choices with people who actively don't give a fuck if we have rights. So we're at that point. We're at that point where we have to understand that there is no morality play. The morality play is what the fuck you going to do? Because anything else beyond that is basically just saying we're going to pray about it. No. What are we going to do? What is Graham Plattner? And then we hold him to account. Do I think Graham Plattner is an amazing guy? No. But at the end of the day, it's like Susan Collins, who just voted for Trump to have access to his $1.77 million, $6 million slush fund for the insurrectionists. No, she can go to fucking hell. I don't think Graham Plattner would do that. I don't even think John Fetterman would do that. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's that level. Like, we got to stop acting like there is a moral, even a moral equivalence. And I think it's okay to be damaged goods. I mean, as someone who just gave y'all my whole story there, I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh no, Now, if he lynched somebody, if he fucking killed his wife, if he poisoned her, if he stole all her money, I mean, motherfuckers be cheating. Is that wrong? No, but is that within the sphere of things that people do? For sure. He was cheating through text. I don't think he physically did anything. I mean, we got to just wake up here. All right, another number. Give me another number, guys. What we got? Another number. That was good. Well, that was a good. So this is what I want when I do the Friday parking lot. Like, okay, this is okay. Another number. What we got? We just did 3. Let me scratch that off. 3. Boom. Trump on Plattner. Oh, yeah. Plattner. He's a bad guy. Motherfucker, you're the worst guy. Again, there's bad guys and there's worse guys. That's it. 6. This is a short one. So after I think this was after game 3 in New York, Jerry Seinfeld. Folks love Jerry Seinfeld. They love Seinfeld. But over the past few years, people have realized that he's a foaming at the mouth Zionist, a racist Zionist. And I think this was after game 3, there was a guy that ran up on Jerry and was basically asking him a simple question. And this was Jerry's response.
Can we get a Palestine? Can we get a free Palestine? Come on, give us one free Palestine.
It doesn't exist.
I'm going to play it again.
Can we get a free Palestine? Can we get a free Palestine? Come on, give us one free Palestine.
It doesn't exist.
When people want to tell you that there is a liberal bent to Zionism, and that the liberal Zionists, they want peace, and actually that they want the two-state solution. You can't want a two-state solution if you don't think that a state even exists for Palestinians. And this is my shirt today, Anti-Zionism Club. It says the same thing on the back. Anti-Zionism Club. Right, Lorena. Yeah, my shirt fits the clip exactly. Anti-Zionism Club. But I was just telling someone this a couple of days ago. Whoever has more privilege gets to live in their own reality. Right? So like if me as a man, for example, if a woman comes up to me and talks about, we are discriminated against with our pay, we are discriminated against with healthcare, we're discriminated against the way we vote. And I'm like, no, I actually don't believe you. I don't believe you, woman. You're wrong. Right? That's me exercising my privilege and getting to live in a world where I actually don't have to believe facts. Right? When black people tell white people this is the condition that we feel in this country or that we experience in this country, that's been well documented, that the data backs up. Actually, did you hear about black on black crime? And I don't know if you hear about, right? So with a Zionist, he's actively saying those people don't exist. He gets to live in that delusion. And it's up to us to always poke a hole in that bubble. That no, absolutely not, sir. You're being a delusional fucking racist. And what did we say earlier in the show? What should we do with racists? So there's just this idea that we're for a two-state solution. If the Palestinians would just put their guns down, then all would be well. If Israel puts their guns down, the oppression ends. If Palestinians put their guns down, Palestinians end. That's it. There's no it must be something else. And Jerry Seinfeld, someone who's got enough money that could choke a fucking bull, is going to sit there and smile with all his teeth that there is no such thing as Palestine, no such thing as Palestine. Even though another Zionist, Steven Spielberg, in his 1984 movie? What year did Raiders of the Lost Ark come out? Raiders of the Lost Ark. What year did that come out? That came out in. Anybody know off the top of their head? What year did it came out? 1981. Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 1981. Sorry, my back. Happens every time, folks. Sorry. In 1981, in the film Raiders of the Lost Ark, you guys can check it out if you haven't seen this movie. It's no spoilers. There is a scene. Steven Spielberg, ardent Zionist himself. The state of Israel had been existing for what at that point? 33 years. There is a scene with a plane flying over Southwestern Asia, Northern Africa, the Middle East. And when that plane flies over the area currently called Israel, what does it say? What does it say? It doesn't say Israel. It says Palestine. It says Palestine. Now, why would a Zionist, who he himself at the end of Schindler's List has a moment of people putting roses on a grave in Israel, why would he have Palestine in one of his films if he believed that there's no such place as Palestine? This is the power of racism. This is the power of racism, is that it's going to always have us questioning and having to prove to them, the people in power who are living in delusion, that they're delusional. But what did Toni Morrison tell us about the function of racism? She says, the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over and over again your reason for being. Someone says you have no language, and you spend 20 years proving that you do. Someone says that your head isn't shaped properly, so you have scientists working to the fact that it is. Someone says you have no art, so you dredge that up. Somebody says that you have no kingdoms, so you dredge that up. None of this is necessary, she says. There will always be one more thing. In any position of power, someone is going to try to gaslight you that your current condition is immutable, that your current condition is an act of nature, that your current condition is just how it is. Jerry Seinfeld, right there, saying there is no such place as Palestine, is him believing the myth, the lie, no different from the Daughters of the Confederacy who wanted to believe the War of Northern Aggression. No different. No different from men believing that there's misandry everywhere in this country. No different from homophobes believing they're shoving it down our throats, shoving it down our throats. Oh, shoving it down our throats. Oh. Jerry Seinfeld's a piece of shit. And it's crazy because, like, yesterday, my daughter asked to put on a B movie. I had to get in the shower, and we've been watching the movie Goat over and over and over again. The movie Goat. Steph Curry produced, and she's like, "Oh, put the B movie on, Daddy." I was like, but I was like, you know what? I mean, that's my sellout to the system for a second. But yeah, people, anytime someone who's of a more vaunted position within society, privileged position, chooses to live in delusion, and if we reinforce that delusion, we are actively oppressing ourselves. Bayard Rustin, the queer organizer of the March on Washington with Martin Luther King, said that every time, even if they say that you're not a human, I'm paraphrasing, even if they say that you're not a human, every time that we assert and protest, that is an act of us asserting our humanity. And that guy telling Jerry Seinfeld, say free Palestine, was an act to assert the humanity of Palestinians. And we should never back away from that. We should never turn a blind eye to that. I don't give a fuck if your boss is like, there's no such thing, fuck that policy. Say it. Because now you know you're working for a fucking racist. So you might as well make him uncomfortable. What we talk about when we had the Sloane Stephens clip where the guy said, oh, you got 10 to the fields. I'd have been like, oh, you mean the cotton field? Make these racists feel uncomfortable. Jerry, that's what they just smile and keep walking. No, to hell with you. To hell with you and your racism against people being genocided right now while you get to go watch Knicks games. The very, very true function of racism is distraction. All right, let's do one more and then get out of here for the weekend. All right, give me one more number, guys. One more number. Let me take this off. The Jerry Seinfeld, free Palestine. Take that off. Okay, one more. I still got a lot, so I'm like, this is going to roll over into next Friday. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I got 9 left. One more story, guys. The number one. Number one, this is from a while ago. That's probably why it's number one. So thank you, Lorena. So to stay on the topic of Zionism, most of the time when people who have privilege or people who feel like that they can just prolong the oppression of people, they like to church up their ability to remain above board by just having dulcet tones and speaking in a cadence and candor that feels quite direct to you. And I'm not yelling, I'm not screaming, I'm just saying you're a subhuman person that doesn't deserve rights and that we can murder at any time. At any time. There is this belief that, that only savages get angry. Which is why, as we're talking about not decolonizing, but re-indigenizing ourselves, to have, yes, a righteous, savage anger. We have a right to be angry. We have a right to push back. So this goes all the way up to Congress. I think like this was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. But Brian Mast, who is if you guys don't remember, he is the congressperson who shows up to Congress in the halls of Congress wearing an IDF uniform. But he's having a debate about what's happening in Lebanon and whatnot. And here he is talking to Rashida Tlaib, who is the only Palestinian in Congress. And listen to this exchange. If it plays.
This resolution, it's reckless and it's unserious. You're asking to remove U.S. troops in a country where we are not in conflict. Israel is killing terrorists, who I just listed off all of the attacks that have gone on just since early April, but we are not in conflict there. So you're saying we can't keep any military there. I would actually engage in a colloquy. I'd yield my colleague a little bit of time. Can we leave no military there? Representative Tlaib, I'd yield you 30 seconds or 10. Can we leave no military there?
I would like to know if Ms. Karam, a university student from the Christian village of Akala in South Lebanon, she wasn't a terrorist. She was murdered on Monday. She was returning from home after completing her exams at the Lebanese University in Beirut. Look it up. The Israeli bomb targeted her family's car, killing her alongside her brother Tony, her father James, and who was a dental surgeon in the community. He wasn't a terrorist. Our country must stop aiding in these killings. To me, she was not a terrorist. She was a human being who should be alive today.
Apparently,
a promising young student. My colleague should know she's a promising young student.
I'm going to take back my time here,
literally
but
being
I will
erased.
give you some more time to debate. As you can see, I'll definitely give you the time. It's tough to understand you when you're yelling. But to my colleague's point, please stay standing because I'll yield you more time. It's just got to be a back and forth. Apparently, they're not terrorists. Apparently, everybody that Israel was killing in Lebanon, they weren't terrorists, according to my colleague over here. It wasn't terrorists that were firing 1,729 rockets there, 1,680 UAVs, injuring 283, killing 15. Apparently, it wasn't terrorists that were doing that. But I would yield you time again. Will you answer my question? Can we leave no military there?
In the meantime, can I ask unanimous consent to insert into the record May 29th article from Reuters?
Can we leave no
11
military
children killed, injured every 24 hours in Lebanon. Are those children Hezbollah?
I'd love to
Are
talk
those
about
children
your
terrorists?
policies.
This is from the United Nations.
Brian Mast is a piece of fucking shit. I think he lost both his legs on in a tour doing some other terrorist shit for this country. So fuck him. I don't give a fuck. Fuck him. And again, he has that kind of colonial distinguishment, right? Distinguishing behavior where he's saying that I can't understand you. You're so loud. We're just talking casually. We're just talking as people. Why are you so upset? I don't get it. We're gonna kill people. We kill people. Why are you so upset? They're all animals. They're all roaches. I'm confused. Why are you upset? Rashida, is it? Tlaib? I don't know. Why can't your name be Kim Johnson? I don't get it. And he has this very calm brogue, as if he has the upper hand. But this is something that we must disabuse ourselves of as well. Fuck you, you piece of shit. And we should probably be bringing that into the conversation. But the person that Rashida was talking about, and I had to find the story. This is the person that Rashida was talking about. And you tell me how much of a fucking terrorist she is. If it plays.
أول ما تشوفها الثيودوسيا بتشوف ضحكة هيك ما بتشوفها أبدا غير عم تضحك.
مش عارفة شو بفكر.
العالم تعرف مين ثيودوسيا؟ كانت عايشة بالقلاية، كانت تفيق الساعة 4 الصبح كرمال توصل على الجامعة الساعة 6 7، وأكتر شي بتذكرها وقت كل دكاترتنا بيغلطوا باسمه، فهي بتعصب بتقلن لا أنا اسمي ثيودوسيا، بتقلن أنا اسمي يعني باليوناني هدية من الآلهة، وهي عن جد هدية من الله لإلنا. نهار التنين كان أول نهار امتحان للفاينلز، فحس كتير بحرقة إنه ما كنت ضليت عم راجع وما قمت لها بطة لسلمت عليها، وقد ما اضطرينا نخلي بسرعة من بعد الامتحان كرمال كان في تهديد، كمان ما لحقنا نودعها مزبوط أبدا. كانت كتير شاطرة وكان عندها كتير أحلام. إنه هيدا العدو الإسرائيلي ما عم بفرق بين لا مسيحي ولا مسلم ولا حدا، بس عم يقتل، عم يحرمنا من رفقاتنا وعم يحرمنا من الحياة من الأحلام، عم يحرمنا من كل شيء، عم نمر بأصعب أوقات من وراه، عم نخسر أقرب الناس لإلنا، يوم ما حتنتسى أبدا ولا نهار.
Word to AJ Plus. All right. We're about time, so I want to do about an hour today, but we will leave it open. I want to remind people about Radical Roots Book Club. Lorena, thank you for the reminder. We are currently reading, I should get the title here, Women Who Run with Wolves, discussing the first 2 chapters, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For folks that want to join, I believe there's a Zoom link. Is that correct? Or what? I think it's officially next Wednesday. Lorena, please let me know how will people be able to find this link? Should they email the Radical Roots if they want to get in on the book club, or even get access to the link? Because from what I understand, you don't even have to read the book. If you want to show up and just talk about what's going on in the book and how that relates to, current conditions or whatever, just kind of unpack and deconstruct. So what is the best way you want people to be able to access this book club? I mean, we're spanning out. We got the Radical Roots podcast, which is Sundays. We got the Roots Rundown, which is 3 days a week. Now we got the book. This is going to be a whole conglomerate by the time we're done with it. We're going to have Radical Roots cars, Radical Roots bubble gum. Okay, she says, okay, so if you're interested, I would say send a DM to the Radical Roots and we can get you guys in contact, if you're listening out there, with Lorena, who will be the one coordinating the book club. How's that sound? All right. So again, if you guys are interested in the book club, which is Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please send the Radical Roots a DM and email at radicalrootspodcast.com or at our social medias or in our DMs. So when you do that, we can make sure that we get you in contact with Lorena, who is the titular head of this book club, who is doing a fantastic job. Already got set up, already got a whole plan. I love it. So we can get that set up. Folks, thank you all for joining me on the Roots Rundown. It has been an emotional couple episodes. It's been an emotional couple of days. It's been an emotional time. And I thank you all for being so dedicated to learning and challenging and pushing back and not accepting the status quo, because the status quo is what got us right here. So I just want to thank you all. I love you all. So please make sure that you find your purpose and you walk into that with your spine straight and your head up. And hopefully that aligns with our people as well. And you have a good day. So thank you all. And we'll see you on Sunday for the Radical Roots. And if not, I'll see you back here on the Roots Rundown